If you're considering becoming a real estate agent in 2025, there's some very critical things that you need to be made aware of before making that decision. And by the end of this video, I will make sure you have exactly what you need to make sure that you can make the right decision for yourself. You see, there's a ton of videos like this educating people on whether or not they should become a realtor on YouTube. However, what I've personally found is that most of those videos are not genuine, they're not honest, and they also don't truly describe the pitfalls of who is not a good fit for becoming a real estate agent. I've trained personally over 6,600 real estate agents to scale their business, as well as many brand new agents to break 6, even 7 figures in their first year. But by doing that and working with thousands of new agents, I've also identified who is not a good fit for becoming a realtor. And if those people were actually honest with themselves, they could have avoided a ton of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, loss of income, and all of these things that they could have been aware of before they even got started. So I want to make sure that if you are considering this journey, that you make the right decision today. So by the end of this video, I'm going to be walking through the pros of becoming a real estate agent, the cons, very honestly, about being a realtor, who is good fit and who is not a good fit, how to make an informed decision, whether you're considering going part-time or full-time, and then also the next steps that you need to take if you are going to become a realtor in order to ensure massive success in the first year, which is going to be the very last. So let's start diving into it. Now, first we need to talk about the pros of becoming a real estate agent. There are many, but as you can see here, social media is not a good reference for whether or not you should become a realtor. Social media is people's external life. And I'll tell you from training thousands of agents, I know many realtors on social media that you would assume based on the car they drive, the posts they make, that they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Well, those are some of the same people whose credit cards have declined for $47 in some of my training. So just because you see people that look like they are successful as a realtor on social media does not actually mean that they are making the money that you're expecting to make yourself. So I just want to throw that caveat out there that you have to be very mindful of what you're using as a reference for whether or not you could be a good fit for getting into real estate. So the first pro is a flexible schedule. Now, I'm going to talk about the pros and the caveat to each of those pros. And the caveat of having a flexible schedule is that nobody's there to hold you accountable. Everybody glorifies having this flexible schedule where you can wake up every day and do whatever you want. Well, that is true because you're self-employed. However, if you just wake up every day and do whatever you want, you're going to go broke. And I don't want that to be the case for you. So yes, you do have the ability to create a flexible schedule, go do your passions and hobbies, whatever you feel fit, like golf or whatever that might be for you. However, you have to be extremely diligent with your schedule. Most people think by going from a 9 to 5 to becoming a realtor and having flexibility in your schedule that you're going to work less than 9 to 5. But the truth is you end up going from working like 8 hours a day to usually 10 or 12 hours a day in your first year in order to build momentum. Now, the second thing is exponential earning potential. Yes, I have personally helped brand new agents in new markets break over $1 million in their first year. I've helped many agents break 6 figures in their first year. But the average realtor makes about $40,000. So you're seeing a lot of the success stories. And yes, there is unbelievable earning potential when it comes to real estate. There is no cap. It depends on your work ethic, what you're willing to do, the sacrifices you're willing to make. However, you just have to be mindful that social media and the internet seems to portray like every agent is just crushing it, driving nice vehicles, viewing gorgeous homes, making multiple 6 figures or 7 figures, and it's just this wonderful opportunity. It is a wonderful opportunity, and you can make that money and live that lifestyle. But the average realtor is making like $40,000 a year. So you just have to be aware that It's not that you get in the industry and suddenly you start making a ton of money. You have to earn that type of money through work ethic and doing the right things, which I'll talk about. Connecting with people. So many people, when you look at the 6 basic human needs, enjoy contribution. They love to make an impact on others. This is something that is a very beautiful part about becoming a real estate agent, is that you get to connect with a ton of people. Over the course of my 7.5, almost 8 years of being in real estate, I've met some of the most amazing, genuine, beautiful people that I never would have had the opportunity to meet at a 9-to-5 job. You get to break into new circles. You get to go to really cool events. If you put yourself out there, you truly do get to connect with a ton of people. Because at the end of the day, being a real estate agent is all about connecting with others. The more people who know you and the more people you know, the more business you're going to do, which means as a byproduct of that, you're almost forced to connect with a ton of people, which is really cool. You can also make an impact on other people, and a positive one at that, which is beautiful. So many people like to change lives and make an impact, and by helping people buy that first house or buy their dream house or get the first investment property and see an incredible return, you get to make a pretty considerable impact on people's lives with one of the biggest investments they're ever going to make, which is a really cool pro of being a realtor. Now, personal development and self-growth. This is what I loved the most about becoming a real estate agent, is who you become on the journey. Yes, you're going to be one individual when you're looking at making this decision, which is who you are today. But if I go back to 2017 when I got started in real estate, and I look at the man I've become since then, it is a night and day difference. And I've seen this with every man or woman that's gone on to achieve massive success in real estate. The individual in which they become is unbelievable, because you're growing at such a rapid pace as you start to learn all these new skill sets and have to educate yourself on a constant basis and being able to constantly push yourself to get to that next level. Because the truth about entrepreneurship and being a real estate agent is that your income is a direct reflection of who you've become. So the person that you need to be to make $100,000 a year is not the same person that you need to become to make $250,000 a year or $1 million a year. You need to become and grow and evolve as a man or woman to get to that next level, because you don't achieve your goals, you achieve your standards and your habits. So this is a really cool opportunity of how you show up for yourself and others and the world, and who you become along the way is one of the most rewarding parts of becoming a real estate agent. Also, the creativity aspect. When you're at a traditional 9-to-5, you kind of have to fit within the confines of that corporate structure. You have to just do your job every day and show up and put the time in, and that's okay. That's for some people. But for me, I love the creative side of this. I love coming up with new ideas and finding a way and a strategy of bringing that idea to life. Then you finally bring it to life and you start to see the impact it makes and the growth that it has, and seeing your bank account go up because of the fact that you came up with this cool new marketing or branding or advertising idea or a new way to get clients, and it plays out. So the creative side is a really cool reward and a pro of becoming a real estate agent. But now let's talk about the cons. This is where I encourage you to be honest with yourself, where you need to be truthful, a little bit vulnerable, and very transparent about what you are willing to commit to. So let's dive in to some of the cons. The first being income instability. Many people that are familiar with or used to or accustomed to a 9-to-5 job crave stability. The beautiful part about a 9-to-5 or a corporate job is that you know, come hell or high water, every month, this amount is hitting my bank account after taxes and all the other stuff. So there's predictability there. You can project it. You can plan vacations. You can plan holidays. You can plan, new purchases for yourself or Christmas gifts. But when it comes to real estate, there is no stability because it depends on your work ethic, your clients, what's happening to the market, how you're adapting to changes in the market. So there's times where you could make $50,000 in 1 month, but then there's times where you might go 3 months with no deals and no income. For the first year, sometimes you're going to run into situations, and I've seen many with new agents, where they don't close a deal because of their own work ethic. And I'll talk about the truth about your first year because you can actually close deals quickly despite what people say. But there's some people that don't get paid for the first 6 months. Then they get a $10,000 check. Then they get no money for another couple months. Then they get $20,000. Then they have another month with no income. Then they get $5,000. So it can be very much like a roller coaster. The caveat to that is if you don't have a plan. If you don't have a strategy to get consistent income, it's going to be very volatile. And many people struggle with that mentally because they don't know what's coming in or what's going out. Now, there's also a high level of competition. There are way too many real estate agents in the industry. The benchmark of what it takes to get into real estate is incredibly low, which means you have a ton of people out there. If I just look, for example, at like Toronto, the GTA or Greater Toronto area up here in Canada, there's almost 70,000 real estate agents. Everybody has a license. The Uber driver has a license. Your cousin has a license. Your best friend has a license. Everybody has a license, which makes it difficult to stand out. Again, if you don't have a plan. It's not overly difficult to stand out if you're willing to put the work in. However, you just have to be mindful that it's not like just because you're good at working with people and you love helping people, that suddenly all these clients are going to start flocking to you. There is a ton of people out there, and most clients, most potential buyers and sellers will work with the agent who they last spoke with. So if you're not good at engaging conversations, following up, staying top of mind, they're going to work with that cousin, that other person that does one deal a year. Even though you would outwork that person they chose, they might still make that decision to work with them. So it's really important to be aware of just how many people are in this industry, and that you have to put an enormous amount of work into breaking through the sea of competition and standing out so that you could become known for something, and as the agent that people will become the go-to client for. There's also, as I talked about, when it comes to flexibility of your calendar or your schedule, the time commitment can be enormous. So there's going to be situations where you finally get that first client and they're texting you at 10 p.m. They want to go view homes on that weekend where you would have went skiing. They want to go view homes on that afternoon you would have went golfing. They want to go view homes in that, that weekend when you wanted to go party with your friends. And this is very real. The time commitment in order to build a solid foundation as a realtor is enormous. And I can't stress that enough. Now, if you want to get into the industry and you just want to dabble and you just want to close a couple deals a year because it's a passion of yours, that's okay. You can kind of make up your own decisions. However, if you want to win and you want to build a scalable, successful, wildly profitable real estate business, you have to be mindful that that first year you're going to have to make a ton of sacrifices, and the time required and that you need to allot to this business is not 9 to 5. It's like 8 a.m., 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. every day, 7 days a week. Discomfort is a big one that most people don't consider. You have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable when exploring this industry. And the reason being is that in the beginning, especially if you don't have a lot of money, you have to do everything. You have to figure out marketing, branding, advertising. You have to prospect or do some form of lead generation, cold calling, door knocking, or get in front of the camera with YouTube videos or social media posts. You're going to have to choose something to get clients that will make you uncomfortable. There's almost nothing that you can choose when it comes to lead generation that you're automatically going to be comfortable with from day one. You also have to look at all of the other things that you have to do. Sometimes you have to do graphic design. Sometimes you have to do video editing. Sometimes you have to, follow up with people, which some people find discomfort with doing, of constantly following up and making sure that you're not letting clients slip through the cracks. You're going to have to force yourself to become knowledgeable in the market and study homes and put yourself in all these situations that are uncomfortable. But that's part of the process. And that's why, going back to the pros, there's a very beautiful side to this, which is the personal development side. So yes, there's going to be discomfort, but with discomfort comes growth if you're willing to push past it. But you definitely have to be aware of the fact that I don't know a single agent that got into real estate and was comfortable with everything that they had to do in their first year. And lastly is the volatility. When you look at agents that got into the industry during COVID, the market was hot. Everything was selling. You get a listing, it's sold. You got a buyer, they bought. They bought within a couple days over list price. The property sold in minutes over list price. It was easy, but that doesn't last forever. So now that interest rates have gone up, the market has shifted. I'll talk about something that happened this year that made it even more difficult for real estate agents that if you're not in the industry, you wouldn't be probably aware of. But now agents are complaining that it's really difficult to be able to sell homes and get listings and get buyers to get the right prices. And it goes up and down. And that is constant. Now, the good part about this is that it's always a good market for somebody. And if you could start to be agile as an agent and pivot your business based on who the market is going to be good for, you can reduce that volatility by changing your focus and who you're going after serving. But many people stay stuck in their ways and they say, this is how I get my clients. This is who I serve. It's who I'm always going to serve. But when the market changes and that no longer works, their business tanks. And then they wait a few years until it comes back up. And just like the income instability, there's a lot of volatility in the industry itself if you're not willing to pivot. So who is becoming a real estate agent good for? It could be a life-changing opportunity. It's good for people who are disciplined. Now, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. Discipline is following through with the commitments you make to yourself. Discipline is also one of the number one things real estate agents struggle with. One of the easiest examples for this is following through with what's in your calendar. So I've got a video and I can link it in the description as well as the pinned comment, but it's what you need to do to be successful as a new agent in 2025. Based on that, you have to build out a weekly routine or a weekly calendar or schedule. And in that, you're going to have activities like prospecting, which could be cold calling or door knocking. You have activities like creating content, planning your content, following up with clients. Where most agents go wrong is they put from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., I'm going to prospect, and they don't do it because they don't feel like doing it, or they're scared, or they're nervous. But where that gets dangerous is that if you don't do that today, nothing happens. If you don't do it tomorrow, nothing happens because you don't have a boss. Nobody's breathing down your neck. Nobody's poking you to make sure you're doing what you're doing. There's no immediate repercussions. However, in 6 months from now, when you didn't get a paycheck for 6 months, now you're in deep trouble. So that's one of the things is, are you disciplined? Are you willing to make those sacrifices to do what's in your calendar and to follow through with those commitments you make to yourself, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it is? If you are the type of person that's disciplined, you are going to crush it in real estate. Can you embrace delayed gratification? Delayed gratification is extending the time horizon for which you're expecting a result. So where a lot of agents go wrong is they'll say, I'm going to post on YouTube, for example, for 3 months. And if I don't get a client in 3 months, I'm going to go on to TikTok. And if I don't get a client on TikTok, I'm going on to Instagram. Or I'm going to make 100 cold calls. And if I don't get a client, then I'm not going to do it anymore. And you have to understand that this is a business. If you were to open up a bakery, for example, and that's your number one passion, the thing that you just feel is like a burning desire, a calling for you, you're not just going to give up after a few months if this is your life's passion, your life's work. If you don't get the sales that you're thinking of getting, you're going to keep going. But in real estate, because of social media and all this clout that you see online of people making so much money in their first year, you start to compare yourself and you start to think, well, why am I not doing what they're doing? Why am I not getting the same results they're not getting or that they are getting? And that is where a lot of agents start to struggle with delayed gratification. But if you can focus on the process, not the outcome, and just do the right things every day until it works out and realize it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If you do the right things, you're also going to crush in real estate. You have to be inquisitive. In order to grow, you always have to be learning, and you have to be learning things that are maybe going to make you a little bit uncomfortable. This could be things like artificial intelligence, studying your real estate market, getting a bit analytical, understanding the market data, learning a new social media tip. Most importantly, the number one thing agents struggle with, learning their CRM. They put this label on themselves that they're not techie and use that as the blame game as to why they can't learn the foundational element of the real estate business. But if you are inquisitive, you like learning new things, you like pushing yourself, you're going to be in a very good fit to succeed, knowing the majority of agents aren't, which is why it's so easy to stand out in this industry. Consistency. Discipline and consistency are the two biggest struggles for agents. The ones who win in business, entrepreneurship, and real estate are the ones that are able to do the simple things consistently, relentlessly for an extended period of time. So when you look at what you need to do as a new agent in your first year, it's not the sexiest stuff. It's not the most enjoyable stuff. But if you're consistent with it, you're going to make more money than you could ever fathom. But many people sprint instead of treating it like a marathon. They get all excited about a new idea, and then they go all in on it, and then they burn out, and they stop, and they go to something else. Everything works in real estate. I know agents that make 7 figures a year from door knocking, cold calling, every social media platform, every advertising platform. If you're incredible at something, it will work and you will make a ridiculous amount of money. However, that only comes from you being consistent and not breaking habits, self-motivated and driven. Are you able to motivate yourself every day to take action? Because like we talked about with flexibility of your schedule, you don't have a boss. Your broker is not going to be your boss. Your team leader is not going to be your boss. If you're like me and you just go solo as a new agent, you are your own boss. So there's going to be days you don't feel like doing the activities you have to do if you care about building a business. Are you able to motivate yourself to do that? Because accountability partners are not a way to scale. Because the truth is about accountability partners is nobody's going to care about your goals, your dreams more than you should. And if you need somebody to poke you or remind you to do things, you will fail in real estate if you need an accountability partner. You have to be self-motivated and driven so that no matter what comes, you're going to do it. And that's why one of my favorite quotes is that the difference between those that win and those that lose, or those that succeed and those that fail, is those who succeed do what they know they need to do regardless of how they feel. They're not fair weather realtors, meaning they don't do certain things based on whether or not they feel like doing it. Regardless if they feel like doing it, they do it anyway. Embracing risk and challenge. This is a risky business because of the volatility, because of the external factors, because of the things that you don't control. And you're going to have to take risk with your time and with your money, with advertising, with marketing, with branding. And if you like the challenge, if you like proving yourself to other people, If you're somebody like me that craves risk, I crave challenge, I love rising to the occasion, real estate is going to be an amazing fit for you because you're always going to have to challenge yourself to get to that next level. Selfless. If you are selfish and you're all about yourself and you're just doing this for the money, you will not succeed. But if you're selfless and you genuinely care about helping other people and making a positive impact in their life, you're going to succeed. You're going to do very well because this is a business that's all about relationships. And if you truly care about people, you'll be able to make connections, and those connections will turn into contracts and close deals. The agents I see failing in real estate are the ones that are just doing it for the money. They don't care about their clients. They're putting themselves ahead of their clients' needs, and they ruin relationships. They're chasing the paycheck. That is not a sustainable way to build a successful real estate business. And lastly, which kind of goes to self-motivated, is self-accountable. Making sure that you show up every day, you're doing the activities you know you need to do, you're staying accountable to yourself, and that you're not craving or chasing or needing somebody else to tap you on the shoulder and tell you that you should be recording those videos or you should be making those calls or you should be following up with clients. If you're self-accountable and you don't need anybody to tell you what to do, you are going to be an amazing real estate agent. But who is it not a good fit for? And it's okay if it's not a good fit for you, but I'd rather you know that today than in 12 months after embracing all of this craziness that can come if it's not a good fit for you. Aversion to risk, right? If you're somebody that doesn't like taking risk, you like predictability, you like security, this is not a good fit. If you seek comfort and stability, you need a certain amount of money every single month. You need to have that confidence that it's coming in and that you're able to afford whatever lifestyle you want, regardless of whether you put the work in or not at your highest capacity. Probably not the best fit. If you're stubborn, if you're set in your ways, if you label yourself as a perfectionist, as not techie, as not good with social media, as, blaming yourself on the fact that you're an introvert, that you can't do well. I know many introverts that get on camera and make 6 figures a month. I've personally helped them, but they don't use that stubborn label of being an introvert as an excuse. Every agent I've seen become successful turns their weaknesses into strengths. They turn excuses into action. They don't let labels define whether or not they will be successful. But if you're stubborn and you're saying, I'm only willing to do this, I'm only going to do my business this way, you're going to have a very difficult time being a realtor. If you've got an ego, I see this constantly. People let their egos get in their way. And that's why you see all these broke agents on social media that look like they're making money hand over fist, but they're broke. Their bank account is empty. Their credit cards are declining. They're leasing their entire life, and they can't afford anything because their ego is too big. They have to drive that car. They have to wear that suit. They have to present themselves like that on social media. Otherwise, they're a failure in their own mind. But that's not the truth. You have to set your ego aside. When I was door knocking, I tucked my tail between my legs, I put my pride aside, and every day for 3 hours a day for my first 6 months as an agent, in the snow, in the cold, I door knocked. And was it a bit of a hit to an ego because I felt like I had to sell myself to new people who didn't really care? Yeah, but that's okay, because that's what allowed me to build a 7-figure per year business and impact thousands of lives. But if your ego is too high, you're going to get your teeth kicked in when it comes to real estate. If you're selfish, right? When it comes to transactions, the average agent just chases the next deal. They chase the next commission check. And by always just chasing that next commission check and putting the commission ahead of your clients, you're never going to scale. Because there's a stat out there that says if you properly nurture your clients, every one deal should turn into 7 more over the lifespan of your career through repeat clients and referral clients. That is how you build a scalable business, but that comes from being selfless. Whereas if you're selfish and it's all about you and you don't care and your clients are about to buy a home or write out an offer on a home and you very well know that that home is not the right fit for them, but you just want that commission check and you push them to do that, you will ruin your reputation, you will upset people, and you will actually ruin people's lives. Now, the biggest one, this is the most important thing. If you are the type of person that blames other people as to why you are or are not successful, you are not a good fit for real estate. The truth about entrepreneurship is that you have to take complete 100% ownership of your business and your life at all times. I see new agents that are not doing well and they blame their broker. They blame their brokerage. They blame their team leader. They blame the market. They blame politics. They blame everyone but themselves. And the truth is, you as an independent contractor and an entrepreneur and your own boss, you are the only one that decides whether or not you're going to be successful. So if you're the type that likes to blame external factors as to why or why not you're doing well, please do not get into real estate because it is not going to work out very well. So now let's make an informed decision to start or to go to a different direction. But if you are going to start, it's time to make a commitment. So the first component to making a decision is looking at the financial planning. Do you have enough financial reserves for the next 6 months? Now, as I talked about earlier, it didn't take me 6 months to get paid. I got my first deal my first month and I got paid in my second month. So if you're willing to do the difficult tasks and get uncomfortable, you don't need to wait 6 months. I see so many coaches and people online that say that you're not going to get paid for 6 months and you only have to work with buyers in your first year. That's not true. I built an 80% listing focused business in my first year as a new agent in a new city, which I didn't know anybody in, and I had no money. And I got paid in my first 2 months. But that can be a learning curve for people. So do you have the financial reserves for the next 6 months in case of the unexpected? Are you aware of the dues and the fees in your local market? Because yes, there's a cost to becoming a realtor, but then there's also a cost to having your license and getting access to the MLS. So do some research and see, because sometimes that's $1,000 or a couple thousand or a few $1,000s a year, depending on what market you're in. Have you factored in the cost to operate your business? This can be the cost to have your email set up and access to Canva for graphic designs and access to a CRM and a cold calling system or a prospecting system. Do you have an idea and factored in a budget for the cost to run your real estate business, to be able to spend some money on ads, or if not, to print out flyers or to record video content? There are additional costs that you need to be aware of. Do you have a structured budget that allows you to stay afloat? So factoring in, let's say conservatively, that you don't get paid for the first 6 months and you have to pay for your dues and fees and license and things to actually operate your business once you're licensed. Do you have a budget in place to be able to say, these are my living expenses. This is what I know is going to go out for the first 6 months conservatively. Can I stay afloat so I'm not a financial wreck and constantly anxious about money? Are there others depending on you? So in the beginning, I was able to take on a lot more risk because I was a single guy with no mortgage, with no kids. So I was able to take on a bit more risk because if it didn't work out, it was all on me. But if you have kids, if you have a spouse, if you have a mortgage, you've got other things that need to be factored in. So I encourage you to think about that and reflect on that and have some genuine conversations with your significant other to audit whether or not this is something that you're willing to go through together. And are you prepared if things don't go as planned? So I can give you a plan, and I've got videos about this of how to break 6 figures if you just follow that plan. But if something gets thrown into the mix and there's an unforeseen economic crash, are you prepared? Do you have a plan? So let's make a decision. Looking at part number 2, understanding the landscape of the current market. Right now, there's a lot of volatility. So I just want you to be aware of that if you are making that decision, because there's a new government in the United States. There hopefully is going to be a new government up here in Canada as well. Interest rates are pretty volatile because we have no idea with the new presidency what's going to happen down in the States. There's new rules, like I was talking about earlier in this video, where there was a change that happened this year that made it more difficult for the majority of agents to do well. The NAR, or National Association of Realtors, there was a big lawsuit and there was a settlement. This is associated with buyer's agent commission. The short synopsis of it is that a bunch of home sellers ended up creating this lawsuit saying that we shouldn't or didn't know or were convinced that we had to pay the buyer's commission, and we shouldn't have to do that. It should be a choice. It should be an option, not a mandatory must. And the seller's agents made it seem like it was a mandatory must, and that wasn't the case. So it made it more difficult for people when it comes to the buyer's side, because now there's additional documents you have to do. You have to justify your value as a buyer's agent. If the seller's agent are not offering buyer's agent commission, then the buyer that you're working with has to pay you if that's in the agreement and if they agree to it. So that just threw a lot of people for a loop who were not running a proper business, who did not know what their value was not able to explain what their value is, was not able to negotiate concessions and things to get properly compensated. That's a big opportunity, and that's something I want you to understand, is that when there's change, opportunity arises. So when everybody else is freaking out, it's like the stock market. When everybody's selling, you should buy. When everybody's buying, you should sell. Well, the same thing happens in real estate. When everybody's freaking out and complaining, that's usually a good time to get in, disrupt, put your head down, and take market share from the lazy and complacent agents that are just whining about something that they have no control over. That's this time right now. So it's a really great time for you to differentiate yourself. However, it is more difficult in the beginning. The market's tightening, but this provides a massive opportunity. Again, so many agents left the industry this year because it wasn't like 2 years ago, the easy days where everybody was buying and everybody was selling and properties were going for sale. And, in 12 hours, they were selling for hundreds of thousands over list price. Those days are not here anymore. And agents that were looking for easy paychecks have left the industry. Thousands of agents left the industry. But that's where the opportunity lies, because this now allows you to stand out. So I want you to be honest with yourself as well, because you need to be fully committed. Part-time versus full-time. If you're going full-time, are you willing to do what makes you uncomfortable every day? Do the pros for you outweigh the cons for you that we walk through? And are you passionate about genuinely helping and serving people, not just focusing on the commission that you can get compensated with? If you're going part-time, which I did in my first month, right? That's okay. People telling you that that's not okay, they're lying. I did it until I got my first client under contract, which I mentioned. I got that first client under contract in my first month, and then based on the closing time, I got paid in my second month. Are you prepared to do the difficult work after a long day? Because if you're working a 9 to 5, and then on top of that, you have to go home, and in the evenings when you're tired, you have to create content or prospect or network or do something to get clients. And on the weekends when you would usually take it off, are you okay with that? And do you have a transition plan to get out of part-time? You will never get out of part-time if you don't have a plan and say, after I close this many deals, I'm going to go on to the next chapter. So looking at this, let's talk about what next steps are if you make the conscious decision that this is going to be a good fit for you, because it can be life-changing. You can change your life, hundreds of other people's lives that you can work with as clients, your family's life. It is a beautiful journey if it's a good fit for you. And you could be the one. You could be the first person in your family lineage to make over $1 million a year. I was, and it's the most rewarding feeling ever. So what do you need to do for the next steps? The first thing is enrolling in your local real estate program. You can just Google real estate license in your city, and you'll be able to find the licensing program. begin working on your business plan. Again, if you haven't thought about this yet, it's one of the things that you can do in tandem with getting your real estate license. So as you're studying, you'll realize that typical, like traditional education, you don't learn very, very practical things in your real estate license, but you have to get it anyway. Well, you could start working on your plan of how do you want to be recognized? What do you envision your brand being? What type of lead generation do you want to do? Do you want to create content or prospect or any of those things? How much do you want to make? What time do you want to do? Building out your schedule. You could do all of that in tandem with getting your license outside of the hours to do so. Now, if you don't know what to do, just again, check the link in the description because I'll have full business plan video in there for you. And begin to study practical strategies like I talked about. I've got a ton of tutorials on here and interviews with brand new agents. I've got a full playlist on my YouTube channel and I'll actually put it at the end of the video as well, but it's for new agents who achieved massive success in their first year, and they break down everything that they did. So you could start to look at, okay, I see myself in her, or I see myself in him. I could be doing just like them what they're doing. Well, start to practice and start to study how they're getting business. Is it through YouTube? Okay, go all in on studying YouTube. Is it through door knocking? Go all in on studying door knocking. But you could do this in tandem. And also explore brokerage opportunities. Which brokerage would you like to join? Right? And I'll talk to you about that in the next slide, but who you surround yourself with can make or break your success. And that's why I like to come here to offer you to partner with me. Because again, I've seen so many agents that joined a traditional real estate brokerage in their local market because they thought they needed somebody beside them to hold their hand, and they didn't succeed. But then they decided to partner with me and get all of my training on marketing, branding, advertising, daily mastermind calls, endless mindset training, endless accelerator programs for new agents to show you exactly what to do. And they went from the previous brokerage they joined as a new agent of doing 0 deals to joining us and closing a deal within the next 30 days and going on to break 6 figures, right? So the brokerage you join makes a big difference. And also, who you surround yourself with makes a big difference, because a new agent at a traditional real estate brokerage, everybody hoards their information. Nobody's going to share with you. And this is the mistake that I made. I joined a local brokerage that had the big name and all the market share, and everybody knew, and all the top agents were there, because I thought they'd be willing to share what they did to become a top agent. Not one single one of them would talk to me. None of them would share their best information. So that's a huge misconception that people have. But when you look at a brokerage like EXP and our unique group at EXP, which is different than all of the other ones at the company, and why we've been able to create so many success stories, every single person you'll see interviewed on my YouTube channel, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, are all in my group at EXP, who I've been able to help see massive success. And I want you to be the next success story. So if you are committed to becoming a real estate agent and you are starting to go through your licensing process, after you go through your licensing process, go to this link and be able to book a call with one of my business partners where you can talk about partnering with us and exactly what we will do to help you break 6 figures in your first year, like we've helped so many other agents do. But who you surround with is a massive differentiator. And again, you'll hear this quote time and time again. You are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And if you're surrounding yourself with other people who are not willing to help you, not willing to collaborate, and not sharing their best strategies, you're going to have a very difficult time in your first year. Now, if you have any other questions, again, drop a comment below. Me and my team respond to 100% of the comments here, because we want to make sure that you actually have everything answered, and that if you do decide to get into real estate, that you become the one. You become the one that makes 7 figures. You become the one that changes your life, your family's life, and makes a positive impact on so many other lives. But again, it all starts with you making that conscious decision, saying that this is for me. I'm fully committed. I'm ready to go all in, and I'm going to be the one that changes lives. And if that is you, please make sure after you enroll in your licensing process that you go to that link, book a call with me or my team, and start to talk about what we can do to help you take it to the next level. Otherwise, make sure you check out this playlist of brand new agents just like you who ended up breaking 6 figures and crushing it in their first year. If you got value from this, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, or share it with somebody, and we'll see you in the next video.